Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside D-Day and Beyond. This is a game designed by John Stafford and Jim Baldrige and published by Tiny Battle Publishing. I've done some other Tiny Battle Publishing games on the channel before, and if you remember, they were all in Ziploc bags. Well, this is one of the few games that are now getting the special box treatment, and this is kind of a misnomer here. This is a Tiny Battle Publishing game, but when we look at the game, I think you're going to find out that this is not a Tiny Battle in any way. So it's great to see them expanding out to having games with a lot more depth. So let's take a look at the back of the box and see what this game's all about. D-Day and Beyond is a tense two-player operational board game covering the European theater from the French Atlantic and Mediterranean coasts to the dense German forests, the Siegfried Line, and the Rhine River. The Allied player faces the tough decision about where and when to land troops, what scarce air and naval resources to employ on offense or defense, and struggles to keep a coherent supply line to his forward troops. The German player has to throw the landings off the beach, if able, and failing that, fight a retrograde war that requires balancing holding key terrain, slowing the Allied advance, and preserving units. Additional rules showcase the resistance, rail movement, airborne operations, carpet bombing, the release of German reserves, and the infamous Wacht am Rhein offensive known as Autumn Mist, the Battle of the Bulge. And we see an example of the map and the counters. Two game maps together will make a 36 by 28 inch map of Europe, one rulebook, a full color order of battle, turn of entry charts, 352 5/8 inch double-sided game counters, and 2 dice. It's a 2-player game, and its playtime is 5 to 20 hours depending on the scenario, which, as I said, is a much bigger scope for Tiny Battle. Let's take a look inside and see what you get. All right, we have our 2d6, and this is a little thank you card. And thankfully, we've got the counters in a bag because they're punched really well. They're falling right out of the sprue. We've got our order of battle cards, our 2-piece map, and the rules. So let's set up the map and take a closer look at the game. And here's a look at the map that comes with the game. It comes in 2 sections, and I've got the dice on top of the map to try to hold it together because I didn't want to put plexi on top because that'll just give us glare and we won't be able to appreciate the map. But first thing I got to say when I laid this out is, wow, this is a fantastic map. They did a great job, Tiny Battle Publishing, with this map. And this is not what you'd expect to see from them because pretty much what they do is tiny battles. This is a much larger battle, but a fantastic map. And the other thing that's really cool about it is, as you saw in the unboxing, no player aid cards. The only player aid cards would be the order of battle stuff and the reinforcements. Otherwise, everything is right here on the map. You've got all the tracks you're going to need. You got your CRT with the explanation of the results, replacements tracker, the sector invasion chart, the release of German reserves for when Hitler's finally going to release those units that you need, the terrain effects chart, along with the cost to move through there, the CRT column shift, and notes. You got your Allied turn player notes, and then the German turn notes over to the right, carpet bombing table and the carpet bombing track used, and then the game turn track and weather that just lists out all the different game turns, the dates, and then any information that you'll need for that turn. You've also got 8 invasion sectors that are going to be, that'll change the way the game plays because you'll invade from one section, whereas historically the Allies invaded from another. So you're going to be able to either follow history or kind of change things up and see what would have happened if the Allies invaded from different locations. And I think that's pretty cool. So there's a lot of variability to the game, and there's a lot of flexibility in how you can approach the problem that the Allies did in World War II. Then we have the order of battle cards. The Allies will be starting in Britain, as well as their reinforcements. And you can tell what units are going to go where. It's great. You just throw your unit here on the mats and easily follow along with that. For the Germans, you're going to be starting out on different map locations, and that's all spelled out for you here on the mat. And then you have the reinforcements, which will be located in Germany, and it tells you the turns that these units come in on. And next, we'll take a look at the counters that come with the game. I'm being really gentle here because thankfully these are bagged, because these are falling right off the sprue, and you got to be careful with that because as I pull them out, I'm wondering how many more are going to fall out. These are really nicely punched, it looks like, because they come right off, and they do, nice and clean. So that's great to see. I'm just going to get a couple of them here, and then we'll take a closer look at some of them that we've got on here. And as you can see, it's just, they're literally falling right off. So no need to punch anymore because I don't even have to put the effort into it. They're just falling off, as we said. So I'm going to zoom in here and take a closer look at some of these counters. So we'll take a zoomed in look here. I'm going to hold these up to the camera. We've got German armor, and we've got a couple different German infantry. The one without the NATO symbol is your static infantry. The one with is your standard infantry. And you can tell also by the values, 343 versus 122. This has a little bit of a miscut here on this German armor, but the rest of them look really great. And the other thing I've criticized Tiny Battle in the past on is having those sticky counters, but we're not having that sticky issue with these. These ones really come out nice and clean without any type of residue. Now we'll take a look at the Allied counters. We've got French, Canadian, British, U.S. infantry, as well as armor. And the only thing you're going to have are these little nibs at the top and bottom, but these are going to fall right out of the tree, as you've seen already on camera. But these look like these will clip up really nice. And again, no residue. So great job on these counters here for Tiny Battle. All right, we'll take a look at the rules. This is a 24-page full-color rulebook. On the first page, we have the introduction, general course of play, your game equipment, explains to you about the map, the counters, and then the admin counters, movement points, how to read all that. Prepare to play, and then you get your sequence of play starts on page 3. Then we get to page 4, we get into the German turn, then we get to movement, sea movement, march movement, rail movement, and stacking. And as you can see here, these orange text are examples of play, and they're sprinkled throughout the book. You got zones of control, combat explained to you. Again, more examples of play. Multiple unit combat, step losses, invasions, reinforcements, release of German reserves, replacements, supply and isolation, and a bunch of different examples here for supply. Wreck ports and recovery, parachute units, supply depots, terrain, bocage, cities, fortresses, mountains, all that explained to you how that all works. Then you have your neutral countries, tactical air support, carpet bombing, the resistance, the French resistance, naval fire support, autumn mist, and then we get to optional rules here on page 19. So the rules actually start on page 13 and go to page 18, and then you get your optional rules that you can add in on page 19, and an explanation of how to win. And then we have the objective and victory points explained to you. And then scenarios, you have historical with hidden units, and then free German setup. Then you have the option for the setup choice, whether you want to have a short game or a long game. The short game is only going to be, let's see, 13 turns, so that way you only play till turn 13 versus playing all the way to turn 50, which can take quite a while to play, as we saw. And we have designer's notes, historical game commentary, and then the order of battle, which we already have looked at those cards. And then, oddly enough, the table of contents is here at the back. So probably what happened was that may have gotten flipped for the, instead of putting it on the inside cover, they put the ad there. And now we've got the table of contents at the back. And we're at the back of the rulebook. And that is a look at everything you get inside of D-Day and beyond. This is a game designed by John Stafford and Jim Baldrige and published by Tiny Battle Publishing. Like I said when I looked at the map initially, my first impression is, wow. This is not the type of game you expect to see from Tiny Battle Publishing. Hence the name, Tiny Battle. All the games that they've done that I've covered on the channel are all small form factor, low counter density, not a lot of rules overhead, games you can throw down and jam out in an hour, 2 hours. A lot of fun that they are, but not anything as involved as this one is. And we've got like 24 pages of rules. It doesn't look like anything that's going to throw us off. I mean, it looks like your standard stacking, Zocs, things like that, supply. But I know that there were some little twists, little wrinkles added in there to add some different layers to the game. So that's something we'll have to keep in mind. But looks like it's going to be a pretty straightforward game to grok. But what a great production for Tiny Battle. Hats off to them. They did a fantastic job. The counters, they just fall right off the counter tree. And the thing that's going to be a pain is, emptying out that bag and having to sort them. It's really, that's a good problem to have because everything will punch nice and clean. But the counters also look like they're going to clip real nice if you want to clip them. And the best part about it is none of that residue that we've seen before. So kudos to Tiny Battle for a fantastic job on this. All of the player aids, you don't have to have player aids here. All the charts that you need are right on the map. So this is going to be a very self-contained game that you're just going to throw down on a table. Obviously, you're going to put Plexi on top because you have two separate maps that butt up against each other. They don't overlap. So you don't have any room for error. And generally, we're going to throw Plexi on our games anyway. So not a big deal, but really excited to play this game. I don't have a lot of D-Day games. I have a couple, but D-Day, the Western Front, is not something I generally chase after a lot of. So this is going to be interesting to have and play because I can play the whole thing from D-Day as the name implies and beyond. But I am looking forward to getting this one on the table and sharing my thoughts with you in a review once I've played it. But if you are a D-Day fan, this is definitely one to check out. It is available now from Tiny Battle Publishing. Well, I hope that helps you guys out if you'd be curious about this one. You have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.